plein Jésus-Christ.
Hello once again and welcome back on PACIS TV English Weekly News. My name is Benjamin Kwizera and these are the top stories. As part of ongoing efforts to strengthen the fight against production and distribution of substandard alcoholic beverages, on Thursday, the Rwanda Investigation Bureau named individuals who are being investigated over alleged involvement in the illegal activities. Rwanda's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Olivier Nduhungirehe, has called on African countries to urgently understand and prepare for the implications of emerging technologies, particularly autonomous systems in defense and security. Prime Minister urges Indangamirwa graduates to uphold national values and put their training into practice. Dr. Justin Sengyumva made the call on Monday, the 10th of August. In international news, Ukraine is facing a renewed Russian attacks on civilian and critical infrastructures. President Volodymyr Zelensky steps up calls for additional Western air defense support and efforts to revive diplomatic initiatives aimed at ending the war. Well, welcome to our news in detail. News brought to you in partnership with the Credo Hotel. As part of ongoing efforts to strengthen the fight against the production and distribution of substandard alcoholic beverages, on Thursday, the Rwanda Investigation Bureau named individuals who are being investigated over alleged involvement in the illegal activities. Dr. Biteri Murangira.
Ngira ngo twongeye guhura nyuma y'igihe gitoya ni nyuma y'uko hafashwe icyemezo cyo gufunga.
After a short period of time, we are back, following measures taken to close some factories that were producing alcoholic beverages that did not meet the required standards. Various people were arrested in different parts of the country. As for today, a total of 104 people have been arrested for their involvement in these activities, including the production and sale of the alcoholic beverages. 97 case files have already been submitted to the prosecution for further legal action. The operation began on 20th of July 2026 and is still ongoing. It was launched to protect the health and the lives of Rwandans, particularly young people. We are aware of the consequences caused by these beverages, including deaths, loss of eyesight, family conflicts, killings, and other problems associated with the consumption of substandard alcoholic drinks. Today, we were able to present 18 of the suspects. Some were unable to enter, but those we were able to present were 18 in total. They include employees of government working at different levels and involved in the issuance of permits. As you have also seen, some of those arrested are officials of the FDA. From the FDA, a total of 10 FDA officials are under investigation, including the Director General, Professor Amy Bienvenu.
Muri Rwanda FDA na abantu 10 bakurikiranwe harimo na ubuyobozi mukuru wa Rwanda FDA Director General ariwe Professor Amy Bienvenu.
Rwanda's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Ambassador Olivier Jean-Patrick Nduhungirehe, has called on African countries to urgently understand and prepare for implications of emerging technologies, particularly autonomous systems in defense and security. News in detail. Rwanda's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Olivier Nduhungirehe, has called on African countries to urgently understand and prepare for implications of emerging technologies, particularly autonomous systems in defense and security. Minister Nduhungirehe Olivier made the remarks on August 12, 2026, while delivering the opening address at high-level dialogue organized by ICYA under the theme, The Rise of Autonomous Systems, Implications of Defense and Security in Africa. The discussions focused on how emerging technologies are transforming the defense and security landscape across Africa and how countries on the continent can prepare to harness the opportunities created by these technologies while addressing the potential risks and challenges they may present. Minister Nduhungirehe stressed that Africa should not be left behind as technology continues to advance at a rapid pace. He emphasized the need for African countries to understand the implications of these technologies for national and continental security, while also safeguarding national sovereignty and strengthening Africa's ability to determine its own strategic direction. The ISCA dialogue brought together leaders, experts, and other security stakeholders to exchange views on the potential changes that autonomous technologies could bring to military and security operations. Such discussions also provide Africa with opportunity to explore how emerging technologies can be used to strengthen security while developing strategies to protect the continent's interest, sovereignty, and independence in technological and security decision-making. Well, Prime Minister urges Indangamirwa graduates to uphold national values and put their training into practice. Prime Minister Dr. Justin Nsengiyumva made the call on Monday, the 10th of August, during the closing ceremony of 16th cohort of Itorero Indangamirwa. News in details. Prime Minister Dr. Justin Nsengiyumva made the call on Monday, the 20th of August 2026, during the closing ceremony of 16th cohort of Itorero Indangamirwa, which had spent 40 days training 769 young men and women at Gabiro Military Training Center. The Prime Minister told the Intore that completing Itorero should not be regarded as the end of their journey, but rather as the beginning of new responsibilities. He urged them to continue putting into practice the knowledge, values, and lessons they acquired during their training at Gabiro. He emphasized that once they leave Itorero and return to their respective responsibilities, their mission is only beginning. He noted that the responsibilities placed on the youth in building the country and safeguarding the achievements already made are not insurmountable, given that they have been provided with a strong foundation on which to build. Prime Minister Dr. Justin Nsengiyumva urged the young people to uphold positive values, including patriotism and commitment to protecting their country. He also encouraged them to maintain the good conduct, avoid temptations, and stay away from behavior that could undermine their dignity and values. He reminded them of the advice given by the President of the Republic of Rwanda during his visit to the trainees on 28th of July 2026, when he encouraged them to maintain good character and play an active role in building the nation. The 16th cohort of Itorero Indangamirwa spent 40 days undergoing various lessons and practical exercise aimed at fostering patriotism, strengthening positive values, and encouraging young people to contribute to Rwanda's development. During the more than 1 month training program, participants attended the lessons on Rwanda's history and national culture. They also received basic training on the use of firearms and self-defense techniques. Some of the graduates said they are determined to uphold patriotism and speak out against those who distort the history of Rwanda. Dushime Eme, one of the participants, said the training taught her important lessons, including the values of being punctual and the importance of looking out for and supporting others. Well, sisters who made their first religious vows over the weekend in congregation of the Franciscan Sisters of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ at Kavumu Parish in Kabgayi Diocese have encouraged young people to look up to consecrated men and women as role models. News in details. The first religious profession ceremony for sisters belonging to the congregation of Franciscan Sisters of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ was held during a holy mass over the weekend. The Mass was celebrated by the Bishop of Kabgayi Diocese, Bishop Balthazar Ntivuguruzwa. Sister Hyacinthe Cyuzuzo and Sister Josiane Iduhamagara were among those who made their first religious vows in the congregation. They encouraged young people to draw inspiration from other consecrated people and to remain attentive to their own vocations. They say that throughout their religious journey, they will be guided by the advice of the Bishop of Kabgayi and remain committed to following the guidance of the Holy Spirit.
Mu by'ukuri turishimwe cyane nkatwe twakoze amasezerano ya mbere turashimye.
Honestly, we are very happy to have the first religious professions. We thank God to be with us in this journey, and we also keep requesting Him to help us to remain steadfast. In the message of our Bishop, emphasized that we must allow Holy Spirit to guide us and be with the Holy Spirit in every mission. The Bishop of Kabgayi Diocese, His Lordship Balthazar Ntivuguruzwa, said consecrated men and women have an important role to play in encouraging young people to discern and embrace religious vocations while also serving as good examples. He further urged the families and religious communities to nurture vocations among children, emphasizing that every vocation has its roots and deserves proper support and guidance. The fruit of calling needs where to live and where to grow. Obviously, it is in the family. We call upon families to be the hub of different Christian callings, and family members must support that calling, from parents, the way they raise their kids, how they train them in a Christian and religious upbringing, and set good examples of Christianity and the missions. In addition to Sister Hyacinthe Cyuzuzo and Sister Josiane Iduhamagara, who made their first religious vows, other sisters from congregation of the Franciscan Sisters of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ also made their final religious profession during ceremony. From Kabgayi to Gako, a total of 146 military personnel, including officers and soldiers of other ranks, have completed a 7-week military police training course focused on discipline and VIP protection. More report. A total of 146 military personnel, including officers and soldiers of other ranks, have completed a 7-week military police training course focused on discipline and VIP protection. The training was conducted at Gako Military Academy through cooperation between Rwanda Defense Forces (RDF) and Qatar Armed Forces, and concluded on 11th of August 2026. The graduation ceremony was presided over by the Chief of Defense Staff of the Rwanda Defense Forces, General Mubaraka Muganga. It was attended by Qatar's Ambassador to Rwanda, Mansour Al-Hajiri, senior officers from Qatar Armed Forces, as well as generals and senior officers from the RDF. The training focused on key military police responsibilities, including the protection of high-ranking officials and VIPs, counter-terrorism operations, urban combat techniques, and management of demonstrations and civil unrest. Delivering a message on behalf of the Commander-in-Chief of the Rwanda Defense Forces, the Chief of Defense Staff congratulated the graduates for their commitment and discipline throughout the training. He commended them for acquiring the knowledge and skills required to perform their duties effectively. General Mubaraka Muganga emphasized the importance of strengthening cooperation between the armed forces of Rwanda and Qatar, noting that the training was another milestone in growing partnership between the two militaries. He reaffirmed Rwanda's commitment to further strengthening the partnership through military training, the exchange of knowledge and expertise, and other activities of mutual benefit for both countries. The representative of Qatar Armed Forces thanked the leadership of the Rwanda Defense Force for support and assistance provided throughout the training. He also commended the strong cooperation and cordial relations between the two armed forces, noting that this contributed significantly to the success of the trainings. Well, from security-related news to agriculture, residents of Nyabimata sector in hilly areas of Nyaruguru district, whose livelihoods depend on farming, say that irrigation infrastructure brought closer to them for watering their crops on the hills will help them to overcome the challenges they had of not being able to farm during seasons B and C due to soil dryness. News in details. Residents of Nyabimata sector in the hilly areas of Nyaruguru district, whose livelihoods depends on farming, say that the irrigation infrastructure brought closer to them for watering their crops on the hills will help them to overcome the challenge they had of not being able to farm during season B and C due to soil dryness. In the hills of Ruhingasel, Nyabimata sector, residents are about to start using infrastructure known as dam sheets, which help in storing and distributing water for crop irrigation. This project is intended to help farmers in the area who grow crops on the hills such as wheat, potatoes, beans, and sweet potatoes. Beata Mukamana, Emmanuel Sindikugabo, and Francine Mukandekizi, who live in this area, say that they are happy about this project because it will help them to overcome the challenge of only being able to farm in one season, especially season A. They explain that during season B and C, the dry season and intense sunshine cause their soil to become dry, making it impossible to farm well or get good yields. So far in Kimuzi village, Nyabimata sector, 23 hectares will be used for irrigated farming using this water. The mayor of Nyaruguru district, Dr. Emmanuel Murwanashyaka, while officially launching this infrastructure, said its purpose is helping residents increase agricultural production both during the dry season, the summer, and even when rainfall is low. He also said there are plans to see how this hill irrigation system can be extended to other parts of Nyaruguru district where it is possible so that residents can farm all year round and increase production. The mayor of Nyaruguru district also asks residents to understand their role in protecting the infrastructure they have been given, to consider it as their own and to make good use of it. Dr. Emmanuel Murwanashyaka says residents should continue farming in all seasons, but also keep putting effort into building terraces where they don't yet exist, in order to conserve water and fight soil erosion. This way, he says, the land will remain productive and agriculture will continue to develop. Well, welcome to our international news. Ukraine is facing renewed Russian attacks on civilians and critical infrastructure as President Volodymyr Zelensky steps up calls for additional Western air defense support and efforts to revive diplomatic initiatives aimed at ending the war. On Thursday, the 13th of August 2026, Russian forces attacked the Ukrainian port city of Izmail on the Danube, damaging infrastructure and disrupting electricity supplies. The port is an important route for Ukraine's grain exports, making the attack a further challenge for the country's agricultural trade. Ukrainian officials also reported that Russian attacks across the country over the previous 24 hours killed at least 8 people and injured about 50 others. A passenger train was among the target hit, highlighting continuing concerns over attacks affecting civilian infrastructure. Meanwhile, President Zelensky is pressing the United States of America to provide Ukraine with more Patriot air defense interceptors. He said additional Patriot missiles could significantly strengthen Ukraine's ability to defend its cities and critical infrastructure against a Russian ballistic missile. President Zelensky has argued that access to a larger share of the U.S. Patriot stockpile would help Ukraine counter the growing missile threat from Russia. Well, and that story takes us to an end of our weekly news edition. But before we close, let's go back to the top stories. Well, as part of ongoing efforts to strengthen the fight against the production and distribution of substandard alcoholic beverages, on Thursday, the Rwanda Investigation Bureau named individuals who are being investigated over alleged involvement in the illegal activities. Rwanda's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Ambassador Olivier Jean-Patrick Nduhungirehe, has called on African countries to urgently understand and prepare for the implications of emerging technologies, particularly autonomous systems in defense and security. Prime Minister urges values and Indangamirwa graduates to uphold the national values and to put their training into practice Dr. Justin Nsengiyumva made the call on Monday during the closing ceremony of 16th cohort of Itorero Indangamirwa. In international news, Ukraine is facing renewed Russian attacks on civilians and critical infrastructure as President Volodymyr Zelensky steps up calls for additional Western air defense support and efforts to revive diplomatic initiatives aimed at ending the war. Well, it was a very huge privilege to be with you tonight, and thank you very much for choosing PACIS TV. My name is Benjamin Kwizera, and I wish you a very fantastic weekend.
PACIS TV, the #1 Catholic television in Africa.
PACIS TV, ta vie renouvelée en Jésus-Christ.
PACIS TV, the #1 Catholic television in Africa.
PACIS TV, ta vie renouvelée en Jésus-Christ.
PACIS TV.